Benjamin Franklin was born January 17, 1706 in Boston. He was the 10th son in a family that would later become a family of 17 children. His father, Josiah Franklin, was a candle and soap maker. He wanted Benjamin to be a clergy, but could only afford to send his son to 1 year of clergy school, when that would take several years. So Benjamin's older brother, James Franklin, let Benjamin be his apprentice, but he never allowed his younger brother to put anything that Benjamin wrote in James' newspaper. James had started the New England Quartet, the first newspaper in Boston, and he wanted it to be perfect. But Benjamin wanted more than to copy out paper. He wanted to write on the paper. He knew James would never let him, so he decided to write without revealing who wrote the section of the newspaper. He instead wrote Silence Dogood instead of his real name, so James wouldn't know it was actually him. People loved Benjamin's writings. His arguments about women's and slaves' rights were very convincing, and people wanted to know who this Silence Dogood was. They claimed that no one could write better than Silence Dogood, but James was furious. He wanted to know who this Silence Dogood was more than anybody else, but Benjamin couldn't keep the secret away from James any longer, and finally told him. James did not fire him, but instead hit Benjamin and mocked him about being a clergy, which got James a couple of years in prison, leaving Benjamin in charge of the New England Quartet, while James was serving his time. When James was let out of prison, he continued to mock Benjamin and also began giving him several injuries from beating. Finally, Benjamin couldn't take it anymore and left out of fear of more abuse. He fled to Philadelphia, where in 1723 Benjamin soon found a job as an apprentice printer. That was also the year when Deborah Reed, Benjamin's future wife, saw him for the first time and let Benjamin live there for a few years. The governor of Pennsylvania thought that Benjamin's work was amazing and promised him that Benjamin would have his own business if he went to London to buy fonts and other printing supplies. It was a hard decision for Benjamin because he had been talking with Deborah about marriage, and he would be gone for nearly 2 years, but finally decided that he should go. Benjamin got all of supplies and sent only one letter back to Deborah. When he returned to Philadelphia, he realized Deborah had already been married to another man out of fear that Benjamin had left for good. One mystery after Benjamin's return was that he had a son named William Franklin. The mother of William is unknown, but Deborah's husband had left her son Lee, and Benjamin married her. The Franklins soon had a newspaper company called the Pennsylvania Gazette and had 2 children, Sarah and Francis Folger. Unfortunately, Francis died at age 4, but that was a very common thing back then. Benjamin began wondering about power sources. He saw lightning and wondered if it could be used as one of those power sources. So he began experimenting with it, trying to prove it as a power source. Benjamin was also an inventor, which spiked most interest in finding out about lightning. He believed it was a form of static electricity, but on a much larger scale, and so he was the first to use the terms positive and negative charges of electricity. Benjamin's lightning experiment was an inspiration to others to create extraordinary inventions that help us in our daily lives. In 1745, Benjamin started experimenting with electricity, but didn't have a lot of time to fully work on it. Benjamin was writing books. He was chosen member of the Philadelphia Council. He expanded publishing partnerships with Pennsylvania and British West Indies and several other important businesses.
A penny saved is a penny earned. Benjamin Franklin.
3 things he did before conducting the famous kite experiment was inventing the electric storage battery, write experiments and observations in electricity, and create the lightning rod. The lightning rod is a metal rod that is mounted atop a building or anything you don't want struck by lightning. The lightning rod works when a bolt of lightning strikes it on top of a building, travels down the structure, leading to a ground rod to safely release the charge into the ground.
The lightning rod stood on the rooftop. It was bolted down. It was stapled to a wire that went down the side of the house into the ground. a very simple thing that any local blacksmith could make. And yet what it did was something magnificent, which was that it intercepted a thunderbolt that would be about to strike a building and channeled it harmlessly into the ground.
In 1752, he was able to convince other prominent Philadelphians to install lightning rods on important civic buildings.
The huge rods are mostly seen on skyscrapers, which help give them their name. The Empire State Building, Eiffel Tower, and World Trade Center are examples. He also invented the bifocals, the Franklin stove or furnace, and swimming flippers. Benjamin chose to prove his theory by tying key to a kite that was strung on a Leyden jar. He put a strip of cloth onto the string of the kite and grasped it there. He thought he should conduct the experiment during a thunderstorm where lightning would most likely strike his kite.
I didn't fail the test. I just found 100 ways of doing it wrong. Benjamin Franklin.
In 1752, Benjamin and his son William tested Benjamin's theory. Benjamin was holding the strip of cloth while William watched. Then history was made. Benjamin's theory proved true as a bolt of lightning struck the kite to the key and to the Leyden jar. Several scientists were shocked by the lightning experiment's success. Some thought it was impossible and then they should search for another power source.
It's very dangerous to invent something in times. Ostentation men are of the other world, who are hostile to innovation, roam the world aimed for themselves. Mehmet Murat Ilden.
Others were fascinated by it and immediately searched for ways of using this new electricity. Benjamin was awarded a Copley Gold for electrical experiments. In 1752, Benjamin Franklin produced the street lamp. Those were put everywhere and in large numbers. Now the people knew that lightning could be used as electricity. But Benjamin didn't stop there. He wrote many books after the experiment, some of which talk about lightning, electrical experiments on amber, meteorological observations, how to secure your house from lightning, and many more. That experiment led to several other inventions that help us in our daily lives. In 1879, Thomas Edison created the light bulb. In 1876, Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone. And in 1939, Philip Farnsworth designed the television. Benjamin's legacy is almost everywhere. Lightning rods on houses, phones, the cloud, Wi-Fi, refrigerators, television, lights, and several other important items that we use in our daily lives. Whenever you turn on a light in your house, you are using electricity. Without Benjamin Franklin, you wouldn't be able to turn on that light. Technology made a huge leap after that experiment, and even Benjamin didn't know how big it would be. Benjamin Franklin was a leader in inventions that started a chain reaction with other scientists to do extraordinary things. Benjamin Franklin's inventions, achievements, and legacies have made Benjamin Franklin's name remembered. But before he could have any more achievements, he died on April 17, 1790. He was 84 years old. His grave is at the Christ Church Burial Ground in Philadelphia. Even after death, Benjamin's legacies live on.